Great skills again by him. Oh, marvellous goal by Lazarus.
Welcome to the Rangers Journey.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bob, and this is your Friday edition of the Rangers News here at the Rangers Journal. With me today, we've got Jack. Jack, how are you this afternoon, friend?
Yeah, not great. One of the sort of things this time of year, waking up in the middle of the night, shivers, then sore throat. But every night or every afternoon's journal night, so we power through.
Excellent. I'm glad you can make it. No, you couldn't make last week because you were feeling worse. So thanks for coming along and joining me today. We'll try and keep your voice intact before the hours through. But well, before we got into the main news agenda for the week, we'll just touch briefly on our sponsors, which you can see in the bottom corner, are the fantastic team at the famous Bluebells Bar, the number one destination for Rangers fans in Puerto del Carmen, right in the heart of stunning and very sunny at the moment Lanzarote. If you're lucky to visit Lanzarote, make sure you drop into the island's only official Rangers bar, wherever a visitor is welcomed like their family. At Bluebells, you can eat, drink, relax, celebrate, soak up that unbeatable atmosphere. It's fully family friendly, and of course they show every single Rangers game live, so you'll never miss a moment of the action. And I'm sure they play the occasional Rangers Journal pod in there as well. Grab a nice cold beer, cocktail, enjoy those incredible ocean views from their sun-kissed balcony, or chill out in the shade if that Lanzarote sun is working overtime. So yeah, whenever you're in Lanzarote, the famous Bluebells Bar, make that your first stop. Amazing people, great food and drink, and unbeatable vibes. A true home from home for any Rangers fan over there. Get yourself along and say hello. You'll be glad you did. And if you mention the Rangers Journal sent you, you never know, you might get a free beer on the house. As well, as you can see in the top corner, we have our merch QR code for our Etsy shop. We've got hoodies, t-shirts, mugs. So if you do follow Rangers Journal, please head over there and contribute, buy yourself some merch. It's greatly appreciated. I'm sure you've seen some of the folks on the other pods repping the Journal hoodie. I've managed to get myself a couple of t-shirts that arrived this week and they look absolutely amazing, so I'll be sure to be wearing them in the coming weeks on the news show. With all the admin said and done, we will get into the news for the week, and it has been a pretty busy week last week in the life of Rangers Football Club. We'll start off and just touch on the Hibs game last week, Jack. Obviously, for some, a disappointing 0-0 draw in Edinburgh at the last weekend. Were you able to kind of watch the game from your sick bed? Have you got any thoughts on it before we move on?
So Hibs game, yeah, I managed to catch the majority of it. First half on the radio, second half on the TV. Yeah, not great. It's kind of the worst of Rangers we've seen this season. Just slow, pedestrian, no real creativity, and then a few sort of brain farts at the back. But the difference, I think, is in comparison to previous games like that we've had. You think Tynecastle, you think Hearts at Ibrox. We did manage to get a point out of it, which, considering how results went mid during the week, obviously Hearts losing and Celtic not playing due to some great conspiracy with British weather, we managed to kind of close the gap in the end. Sorry, I'm completely messed up. We fell behind against Hibs, but in the end, we're kind of exactly where we were, if not better, due to not letting it affect us midweek and just kind of getting back into the swing of things against Kilmarnock.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, I know for some it was a disappointment that we couldn't get all 3 points and keep that 1-1 going. But, again, we're still undefeated in the league under Danny. And I think, hopefully when we look back at the end of the season, if we've lifted some shiny silver things, then we'll probably look back and say it was a good point gained. Games against Hibs are always hard. You can see that obviously over the last 2 or 3 games that we've played against them. It's always been a narrow victory. If it's been a 1-0 or a 2-0, it's never been a high scoring game for us. This season in particular, I know that we've had some high scoring entertaining games in the past, but I'm happy to come out with a point. It's a positive result. I think in the long run, to come out of there, as you say, we're certainly not any worse off than we were before the game, and it probably teed us up quite nicely for the game on Wednesday night. Just before we touch on the Kelly game, we obviously had the end of the transfer window come to an end on Monday night. Obviously, there were a few outgoings before we got the late news of our latest addition. Maybe just touch on them briefly, Jack. I know I'd sent you over it. What we'd seen. So we'd seen Finlay Cutler scout to Kilmarnock, Joe Rothwell leave on a permanent deal for Sheffield United. Clinton Enciala has went to Westerlo in Belgium on a loan period until the end of the season with an option to buy. And obviously we had the incoming of Ryan Don Naderi late on the Monday evening. So we'll maybe just touch on the outgoings first, Jack. What did you think of those players heading out the door?
Yeah, I think it's the right call on them all. Young Enciala, I had high hopes from this season. I was hoping he would maybe kick on like we've seen Calvin Bassey do in the second season, just because they have some similar attributes. But I think at the end of the day, to play in Scotland, you need to be physical, you need to be aggressive. And I think Clinton, I think he's actually a good player. I know he's had some howlers, Queen's Park and away at Kilmarnock, but I think he has a good football player. I just think he's a bit too classy for Scottish football, if that makes sense. He'll probably thrive in one of these leagues where the pressing's not quite as intense, because when you play against teams in Scotland, even their strikers, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be right up in your face. You're not going to get that time in the ball to spread a pass unless you're exceptional. And young Clinton just isn't quite at that level. I'm happy it's got an option to buy. That means obviously if he does well, we should, I don't think we paid much for him. I think it was maybe a wee tribunal cost. So yeah, give us a chance to get a profit there. On that, I know we're talking about outgoings. I would have liked an experienced centre half to come in, equivalent to maybe a Davy Weir and Ugo Ekiog sort of signing. I do think we've still got a young defence. I think John Suter Derek Cornelius is a bit experienced, but yeah, I just don't see that real leader in there, which I would have liked. In terms of the other boys leaving, Danilo needed, again, option to buy. It's a league he knows. He might be able to rebuild himself there. And Joe Rothwell just never worked out. I don't know if there was a fitness or an injury problem or not. We weren't really aware of, because it started well. If you remember Panathinaikos and even Pilsen, he seemed quite good, and then the league started and he just seemed to be blowing out his backside after about an hour at the latest. Watching him for leagues last year, he was an all-going sort of guy, calm, composed, could drive forward. We just never seen any of that. In fact, the closest I think we did see to any of it was his little chip for another guy departed during the window, Kieran Dowell against Annan. But you're not spending £20,000 a week on Joe Rothwell for him to show up against League Two side in the Cup. So yeah, my only concern is we are a bit light in the centre of the midfield now. We've got Raskin, Diamandi, Chukwani in there. Obviously, Barron's injured, and then obviously in the number 10, you're kind of looking between maybe Bayrami and Asgard, maybe Mikey Moore in there as well. But for that defensive midfield position, we've got 3 bodies for 2 positions up until whenever Barron gets back. And even when he does come back, how long does it take him to come up to sharpness? There was talk obviously on the Rangers review and everything. We wanted an experienced number 6, and I do think that is sort of the glaring place we haven't recruited somebody. Like I said, the 3 boys we've got in there that are fit are good players, but I just feel we could have done with one more body in there.
Yeah, I don't disagree, Jack. I think, just on the outgoings as we touched on. I think Curtis going to Kilmarnock will be a good move for him till the end of the season. He'll certainly get plenty of game time under Neil McCann and Billy Dodds. I know he obviously couldn't play Wednesday night because of his parent club, but hopefully moving forward he'll start to get 60 to 90 minutes under his belt most weeks. Same, I agree with you, Joe Rothwell. Severely disappointed with him. Craig and Scotty had made massive, given massive hype in our group chat over the summer when we heard we were interested in him when we brought him in, because again, I thought he would be that midfielder that would help us. Move forward and improve, but he's just never had a chance of showing it. I don't know whether or not he was just a victim of the prior management's philosophy and playing style. I know that he'd played under him at Southampton, but as you say, at Leeds he was a kind of box to box midfielder. I thought that's what he was going to be when he came in, maybe because he was trying to be shoehorned into that number 6 spot, which he said a number of times just what isn't his preferred position. He's more of an 8, in terms of box to box, and obviously the way we are playing, it maybe just wasn't conducive for him. Obviously injuries played a part as well, so hopefully he can go down south and recover his career down at Sheffield United. Same with NCL. I thought he might make a step up this season, having kind of been quite impressive at times last season. And some of the games that he played, I know he didn't have a great game away to Kilmarnock when Barry hooked him early. But I did think that again, this is one for the future. But maybe just Danny Rowe just doesn't see that in him. He doesn't maybe have the physicality or the height that needed that Danny Rowe was looking for. So hopefully he can go and impress in Belgium and go and play under Issam Shirai, who obviously we have a connection with. And we'll obviously come on to that in a wee moment with the team on Wednesday night. Danilo is the same. You said he's just been unfortunate with injuries, and going back to Holland, a league he knows well. He was successful in. Again, know that his partner was expecting a baby, so hopefully they can settle, and hopefully everything's went well with that. But it gives him an opportunity to impress, and you never know, maybe things change in the summer if he's got a year to go in his contract. If he goes and impresses and comes back, he may well be able to compete in the summer for a starting berth next season, or if they do take the option to buy, then obviously we're at least getting some money back on the outlay that we paid for him a couple of years ago. Maybe coming more so to the incomings, as you said, I think we're maybe a wee bit light in midfield. Unfortunately, we didn't make any midfield signings on the transfer deadline day, but we did make an addition up top with Ryan Ederi coming in from Hansa Rostock for a reported, I think it was £4.7 million. It's 5 million euros, which is a lot. I think it's a record for the third tier about Belgian-German football. Apologies. He looked okay on Wednesday night when he came on for his sub appearance, but I know there was a bit of a saga with this. Initially it was going to be coming in the summer, but they've obviously pushed the boat out for him to get him in, Jack. What do you think that says for us for the second half of the season, getting an extra attacking option in?
I think it shows that we've accepted that we need someone else up there. We've had 3 guys that can dip in and out. Trimiti's improved, obviously, but he's still not grabbing the goals. Miovski seems to be coming in flits and flashes. He'll get a couple of games where he'll score some goals, and then he'll be absolutely a non-event the next few weeks and then get a goal. And Danilo, still good to pop up with a goal, but you can just tell physically he's not what he used to be. The injuries have taken their toll. So to get another option in instead of Danilo, someone who could probably play more regularly and play 90 minutes if required, which Danilo couldn't really do. And he's a big physical presence, which is something Danny Rowe seems to want. I mean, every boy he's bought in this window is tall, built, strong, quick. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see the boy play. I know we got a little cameo during the week, but I think this weekend with Queen's Park, we'll probably see him start, and hopefully we can see a little taste of what he can offer.
Yeah, I agree, Jack. I think it was certainly a sign of intent with the fact that we've went and essentially upped the bid by another €2 million to get him in on transfer deadline day. Again, I think just as you said, that the attacking options we've had so far, I think, and sure someone will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I think, and probably just as you said, between Chermiti, Majowski, and Danilo, I think there's only 12 to 15 goals between them, and you can't rely on that in the second half of the season to fire you to the title. Yes, we've been more defensively sound since Danny Rose came in. He certainly stopped us conceding at the back, and maybe that was part of his look for the second half of the season, is to start improving the front end of the park, because again, goals win games. As much as we can be defensively secure and sound in the most part, if we're struggling to break teams down and get that elusive goal, then we certainly need that creativity and attacking threat up top. So hopefully, again, not to put too much pressure on the lads. Again, he's only 22, and again, he's a good age to come in and build up his reputation. Hopefully, can hit the ground running and start getting some goals. Hopefully, he gets an appearance on Sunday, which we'll come to in the cup. And with that being said, with that done and dusted, we moved on to Wednesday night and the home game against Kilmarnock. Um, it appeared to be a frustrating first half, maybe more so for the fans than it was for the players and the management team. Ultimately, we came out with a 5-1 victory against Neil McCann's side. Um, there was obviously a couple of talking points in that game, which I know that the pods on Wednesday night and Thursday touched on. But maybe just get your take on it, Jack. What were your thoughts on the game from Wednesday night?
Good start. Can't really get much better. A red card and a goal inside 5 minutes. Felt we continued that on for the next 5 minutes or so quite well. Then Kilmarnock dig in. They start to get us in the break, and obviously Bruce Anderson has that chance he puts wide. Watson has a shot from range, and it seemed to kind of give us a fright. I think we played this in ourselves for the rest of that first half. Obviously, the boos at half time the manager spoke about. But I think we got the second goal at the perfect time, just before the hour mark, just when everyone's starting to get a bit antsy in the crowd. Miovski and Diamandi work out well, and the big man gets a really, really good goal, places it right in the corner, and kind of proves he's still got a role to play despite the improvement of Trimiti and the incoming signing of Nadiri. Still muted, Paul. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, yellow card for me. Yeah, I agree, Jack. I wasn't able to make the game on Wednesday, unfortunately, but from the highlights I watched, it was obviously um, just as Jockey Balboa was saying in the comments there. I think it looked as if Rowe was making a point on Wednesday with the team in the first half versus the second. Um, we were kind of poor. Despite the goal, the penalty, and the red card. I do think looking at it was a red. He made no intention. The Card defender never made any intention to play the ball, and Gassama just gets round him. And Mikey Moore, who was most people's man of the match on Wednesday night, drove in from that kind of left hand side into the centre, and it was an attacking threat all evening. Um, as you said, second half, we kind of turned the screw a wee bit. I'm sure Daniel had some choice words to say in the dressing room at half time. And it certainly lifted the spirits of the fans in the second half. I know they were booed, which again is frustrating, for some. Me personally, trying to back the manager, based on what the club have come out with. We're hunting for another league title. We need to back the players and the manager. Yes, we're going to have dips in form and performance, but ultimately the manager and the players are still getting the results on the park, which is ultimately what we're looking for. I did think second half, obviously we opened up just due to the fact we had a man advantage. A lot's been said about two Romans coming on playing left side. He certainly didn't look out of place. What did you think of his performance, just based on what you're able to see on Wednesday, Jack?
Very impressed. Again, I thought both swingers, Scott Wilson when he came on and Moore, were very impressive. I think we've finally seen Scott Wilson dust off the cobwebs a little bit. I know there was some sort of complaints about his first two games, but that's a guy who's hardly played since September. I think now we're starting to see him get up to speed, which is good. And Mikey Moore, look, he's 18. He's here to develop, and he's going to have good games. He's going to have poorer games, but when he's on it, he's really on it. And I would love to get this boy back for another year, maybe see him develop even more. I just think he's got that wee spark, something we've missed him. So Ryan Kent, when the year we won the league, before he had his obviously drop off, it's just he can create something out of nothing, and it's something we've badly missed really since after that league winning season. Having
Yeah,
someone that can do that.
yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, Jack. But no, I agree. I think he's certainly coming into his own. Again, maybe just another, I say, victim of the previous management's philosophy, where he wasn't played, and again, maybe just getting up to speed with the rigours of Scottish football. But he's certainly coming into his own. I know that was a complaint for some that he never started the game on Sunday. So it was good to see him get the full game on Wednesday night. And again, as you said, two Romans was certainly a quality addition. And I think it was one of the points that was made last night on the Q&A show. And again, if you've not caught it, please go and check it out on our YouTube page. But I'm sure Chris was one of the ones that had said, we're maybe looking at it now that, with the players that we've brought in, we do have the kind of quality and the consistency in the team to nurture these players back in. Just as you were kind of saying on Ant-Man, we're not rushing him in because there's not a need to rush him back into the team and put him under undue pressure. I definitely think Ant-Man's goal will do him the world of good. His confidence, hopefully that's the monkey off his back, and he can come back in and play a positive part towards the second half of the season. And we've certainly got a slightly more options moving forward up front. I agree with what you said, Jack. I think Scott Wilson, again had another week of training under his belt. Freshness of having not played the European game. Obviously last week, and obviously again a bit part role on Sunday. So again, you're hoping he'll get more minutes on Sunday coming in the cup game, and the same way in the Derry. Hopefully he'll get a start on Sunday. But again, he looked mobile. He looked hungry. From what we've seen of him when he came on in the second half on Wednesday night, but overall, was there anything else you wanted to touch on regarding Wednesday night's game?
No, I think you kind of covered everything. I'd just say Ant-Man, that celebration looked like a man who knew that was what he needed, just a relief in his face. I'm delighted for the lad. And just touching some of the points the boys made earlier, I think Rabbi Matondo's going to struggle to get into the team.
Yeah, I certainly think that's one that's hopefully moving closer towards the exit door. And again, maybe that's just the influence that we now have at boardroom level. That they are willing just to cut their losses and pay up his contract for the last 6 months of his deal, because he's clearly not in the manager's plans or thoughts moving forward. And hopefully we see that done sooner rather than later. Before we move things on to looking towards the weekend, I just want to give a shout out to the Gallant Pioneer show that was on last weekend. If anyone went to see it, get in touch and let us know what your thoughts were. We did have Ryan from the pods there representing us, as well as the lovely Rebecca, who was on stage singing her heart out, which was great to hear. I know that they're away to Australia from the 16th of February. So if you are watching down under, please look to get tickets and support the show. Friend of the pod, Stuart Hay, who has been on before, had his previous show, The Journey Back, which I was able to catch, which was a thoroughly entertaining, enjoyable show. I'm sure this one with the Gallant Pioneer storyline is just as entertaining and enjoyable. So please keep your eyes out. I'm sure it'll be back on if there's enough demand for it. So yeah, just wanted to shout out them. And Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
And I just want to say, if Scotty or Billy want to send us down to Australia to do a live podcast, we are more than up for that if you're willing to send us.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure I can certainly get the time off work to spend a couple of weeks down under the sunshine of Australia. So yeah, Scotty, Billy, if you're listening, just check that merch profit and, and see if we can get a couple of return tickets. That would be good to see. But moving swiftly on before we get taken off air, Jack. We do have the game at the weekend against Queens Park in the Scottish Cup. It was initially meant to be Stranraer, but due to fielding an ineligible player against Queens Park in the previous round, they have been expelled, and Queens Park have been put back in their place. Now, initially, I think we had all maybe wanted Queens Park just for maybe a revenge mission compared to what we had last year, and obviously one of the poorest results we've seen in recent history, especially in the cups, but more so even at Ibrox. So, how do you think the game will go at the weekend?
Yeah, that it's one of the ones. If you remember, under Gerard, we played Progress a couple of years after we'd been out under Pedro, and there was all that talk about revenge, revenge, revenge. You're not getting revenge on a team that size. Queens Park, of course, get history. I don't want to mean that, but in current day, we should be swatting them aside. We should have swatted them aside, and it was embarrassing and emblematic of just where the club was last year, just the atmosphere around everything. But I assume with the standards we've got under Danny Rowe now, the way we're playing, we should have no sort of issues with this one. But I wouldn't. The only downside was an open Stranraer is I think we could have probably afforded to rotate a bit more, rest maybe one or two other players. Whereas it's Queens Park, I know they're bottom of the championship, but they're still a full time team. They train, the same way as we do. They're just maybe not at the standards, so you're not going to get them tired as quickly. But yeah, the quality we've got, I know we probably said this last year, but I've got a lot more confidence in it now. The quality we've got, we get an early goal, it should be pretty simple. I do feel for Stranraer. Anyone that knows me knows that I do a bit of work with my local team, Dumbarton. We were down at Stranraer right before Christmas, and they were very nice, very hospitality was great. Everyone let us, get involved. They were great. But I think the SFA backed himself in a corner. They kicked Queen's Park out for the same thing 2-3 years ago, and I think when you've set that precedent, there's only one way that was ever going to go.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think this weekend hopefully we play a relatively strong team. I know Jockey mentions it in the comments here. Maybe just touch on the what you think the team will be. I think I suspect we'll probably differ slightly from what Jockey says here, but I would probably go with Kelly in goals. Probably Sterling at right back. I don't know how far away Cornelius is from returning. But if we had Suter and Fernandez, I know Fernandez missed out on Wednesday night. With Roman starting as a backline, I think that would be a good start to it. I think Chukwani will probably start, whether that's alongside Raskin or Diamandi. Maybe say Raskin just to keep that consistency going. Your front three would probably be Gisama, Scott Wilson, and maybe take Mike Asgard out of the starting lineup and put Moore in. But again, the gas he might decide to put Ant-Man in just based on the fact Ant-Man got a goal on Wednesday night, and then up front you're maybe looking at Naderi starting just to get that minutes under his belt since he only arrived at the start of the week.
Yeah, I'd probably say something similar. I think we'll probably go with Kelly in goals. I imagine it might probably be Max Aarons getting a run out right back. I think we'll go strong centre half. It'll either be Suter and another of Fernandez or Giga. Romans will probably get his first start at left back. Midfield, you'll probably see Chukwani and then either Asgard or Diamandi. I imagine maybe Diamandi just for that bit more of an attack-minded option. I think maybe Bayrami might come in for this one. He's sort of been edged back into the team over the last couple of weeks. Wingers, probably Moore, Gassama, maybe Scott Wilson. I think we might give him maybe an hour, keep getting him up to speed. And then I think it's the DD up front all day. You get the boy in, give him a chance to get some confidence up and see what he can do.
Yeah, I agree. If he can get a couple of goals against Queen Park, it'll certainly get his confidence up. And continue that momentum going. I know he was scoring goals quite regularly for Hansa, so hopefully he can keep it up for us at the weekend. I know that we've kind of come through the majority of the agenda that we had, Jack. Maybe just touch on another couple of items before we wrap things up, since we've got the time to do so, if that's all right. I think the first thing we'll mention, I did mention it on last weekend's show, last Friday's show, apologies, was the Women's Cup semi-final, the Sky Sports Cup semi-final against Celtic, where they came out victorious. They won 5-4 on penalties with goalkeeper Jenna Fife making 3 penalty saves, I think it was, in the game. I know that you covered that for us, Jack, with the interviews going up afterwards. So maybe just a few comments on the game and the result.
Yeah, it was not a classic performance. Rangers went behind, equalised, found himself 3-1 down, managed to get a sort of scrappy goal back before half time, and then into injury time in the second half, headed off the bar. And I want to give a shout out to Laura Berry, only 18, 2 goals in an Old Firm game. She became a real prominent part in that Rangers women team this year. She's on hand to fire at home. Any extra time, and Celtic get a penalty. Jenna Fife saves it. We go on to penalties. She makes another further 2 saves, makes herself the hero. And yeah, I just want to give a thanks to Scotty, Ryan, the boys for sending me along, and everyone at Rangers for welcoming us along. It's a great experience to get these interviews with players and officials. They're up on the Rangers Journal sort of YouTube, Facebook pages if anyone wants to go and have a listen. We got to speak with Leanne Crichton, the manager, and of course Jenna Fife herself. But Leanne made the kind of comment that she couldn't really believe we'd won the game either. We weren't great, but we ground it out. And yeah, that's what you need to do at Rangers. If you're not playing well, get a win. That's the thing that matters most. We're not one of these teams, whether it's women's or men's football, that have a West Ham way or a Tottenham way or a Celtic way. Our way of playing football is winning, and to see that kind of across the board, men's, women's, youth level, is exactly what you want to see.
Yeah, no, exactly. And again, shout out to the Rangers team that welcomed us and welcomed yourself over there, Jack. It's certainly a bonus to have that coverage, and hopefully we're able to improve on that as the weeks and months go on. So again, thanks very much for covering the game and getting that media back to us on our YouTube and social media channels. And just on that, we've got around 110 folk watching. So if you are not already subscribed to the Rangers Journal, please go over to our YouTube page and subscribe. Get the wee bell notification on, and you'll be notified anytime a new video pops up. And we've also got our members channel, which is 99p a month, I believe. So certainly get yourself signed up to that as well for extra content from the Rangers Journal page. And we are also on all forms of social media: Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Where we're looking to improve those numbers as well. So if you're not already subscribed to us on those social media platforms, please go ahead and get yourself subscribed, like the videos, and share us amongst your friends and family. It's certainly worthwhile, and any help you can give us is greatly appreciated. So thank you for that. The only other thing that I wanted to touch on today, Jack, was the academy. We've seen that the under-19s were playing Hibs during the week. They got a 2 each draw. I'm not sure if there was anything you wanted to touch on with that one. I think it was a relatively tough game, but at least we came out with a positive result for that one.
Yeah, the academy's difficult because your top talents you're losing at 16 post-Brexit to England because they can't sort of raid Africa and South America and the continent anymore. So you're kind of left with the best of the rest. So I'm delighted though. Kyle Glasgow, of course, was great in that Hibs game. I've seen the sort of clips on Rangers social media earlier on today. this boy signed a professional contract, and if Danny Rose comments are anything to go by, we should be seeing a professional debut for this boy before the end of the season. I'm cautious not to overhype him. We've seen what that's done to the likes of John Fleck in the past, who've just not been able to quite live up to it. But this boy looks as if he's kind of got all the attributes you're looking for in terms of on the ball. Great touch, can run, skillful, can drive, can score some goals. Just need to kind of do that typical Scottish thing, get him some stakes in him, bulk him up a little bit, and then he should be good to go. But that's what the academy should be doing, even if we're not sort of bringing through guys of Billy Gilmore quality because we're losing to England. We should have guys like Robbie Fraser. You bring through, give them some exposure. If they don't quite make it, you can sell them on for, 6-figure fees, because whatever you do on these boys is going to be profit. And you see Celtic been good at that over the last few years. A lot of teams in England do it. In England, you get guys coming out of the Man City Academy, Rabbi Matondo going for 11 million when they've not kicked the ball. So it's something we should be looking at, because it's free money at the end of the day if you can give these boys the right platform.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think from the clips I've seen, Kyle Glasgow, scored a good goal. He certainly came across as mature and professional in his interview for the Alcas channel when they were over there in that competition. So again, as you say, Jack, hopefully we see him in the first team squad at least towards the end of the season. Hopefully, when when the league title is done and dusted. Hopefully it doesn't, it may run to the end of the season, but hopefully it does get some game time before then in the first team. As you say, it's good to see the academy players making that breakthrough into the first team squad. Hopefully we can see more of that moving forward under Danny Rowell and this management team. Just as you touched on, the one of the outgoings we did see from the academy this week was Chris Eady going down on a permanent deal to Sheffield United. He's a striker. I think they had a long-standing interest in him, and obviously we've lost him from the academy to go down south. So unfortunate to see, but as you say, Jack, that's just the nature of the game at the moment. We've seen that in the past with, I think it was Rory Wilson that went down to Aston Villa and the like. Obviously, one of the biggest ones was Billy Gilmore going down to Chelsea. So yeah, hopefully we don't see too many of them moving forward in the future if we can get a successful conveyor belt coming out of the academy. And I think the last thing I wanted to touch on, and it's not really as football related, but I did see this week that the Rangers Youth Development has received or has provided another £300,000 towards the Rangers Academy, which is obviously good to see from the side, Jack, with all the contributions that come in from the match day, the Union Jackpot tickets and all the like, and obviously all the contributions that go towards the Rangers Youth Development. So, any comments on that?
Yeah, just want to echo your comments. Great to see. The Youth Development Company have been doing a lot of good stuff with academy graduates, doing articles on their time at Rangers, coming through, stuff like that on the website, which I've thoroughly enjoyed reading. So if anyone's not read that sort of stuff, I'd compel them to go and give it a read if you've got time. It's some really good stuff in there with some sort of bigger names and some sort of names that you might go, oh yeah, remember him. So it's been good stuff coming out of there. I actually did my college project on sort of charity within football clubs. Rangers were very accommodating, got us up into Argyle House, I believe it is, let us do some interviews with Coral Cochrane. Very accommodating, and told us all about the great stuff they were doing, and just delighted to see more of it sort of coming on.
Excellent. No, it certainly sounds like a good read, Jack. And again, we're always positive to see that the money that is being made by the club is getting reinvested into the academy. Just as we touched on, hopefully that leads to more quality players being given the opportunity to break through into the first team squad. I know we've covered, pretty much all the the points that I sent over in the agenda. So we'll maybe just come back to the game at the weekend. We have our pre-match and our post-match pods lined up for the game on Sunday. I believe it's a 2 o'clock kickoff. So if you're at the game or heading to the game, please get involved and give us your comments and reactions to the game before and after the match. Jack, what do you think the just ask for a score prediction before we wrap things up? What do you think the outcome of the game on Sunday will be?
I don't think it will be anything spectacular. I think 2-0, 3-0 hopefully. A couple of goals in the first half and then just kind of get out of there with no injuries, no suspensions, that sort of thing, because we've got a massive match at First Park coming up after it. And February is going to be vital. If we want to be champions this next 4 weeks, when you play Motherwell, Hearts and Celtic all in that time span, this is the month that's going to make or break whether we're going to be league champions this year. If we can get through this month with even 7 points out of 9 from the 3 games, we're in a very good position. If we can get 9, unbelievable. But we cannot be losing any of these games if we want to be serious about winning this league title. I know a lot of fans have not been in a league title race down to the wire since 15 years. I know myself, I've only really got memories of what was last year going down to the wire, being at the game. So I'm a bit antsy with it. I'm not used to being to and fro. So there is that sort of thing where you're freaking out, like it had dropped 2 points, but it's not the end of the world. We just need to keep chugging on, don't lose any of these big games, and if we do that, we'll deserve to win the league, and I'm sure we will at the end of the season.
Yeah, I certainly think it's we're looking for a positive result at the weekend. I think the way we've been playing, I certainly don't see us slipping up. Again, I think we'll have a strong lineup. I think that just goes to show again what the manager had said about the transfer window, that we've got some people out, but we've made improvements in the quality of the squad. In terms of reducing the quantity and increasing the quality, which is good to hear and good to see. I'm the same as you. I think I'm hoping that it'll be a routine victory the weekend, get us into the next round of the cup. And hopefully we're there or thereabouts come the end of May on both fronts. But yeah, I totally agree, Jack. I think this month will be vital for our silverware ambitions. If we can get positive results against Motherwell and Hearts in the next couple of weeks, then we're certainly on our way. The fact that we're only 3 points behind, and I think we're only 3 goals behind them, goal difference. So again, I think that may come into it. Before we play the other side of City at Ibrox at the start of March. So yeah, it's certainly a vital few weeks ahead for the club and their ambition to win silverware this season. As I say, we've covered the majority of things. Is there anything else you want to talk about today on the news show, Jack, before we wrap up?
Just trying to think of it. There's not really too much been happening, which isn't usual for Rangers, but it's kind of a nice change, because how many years has it been really since Seville? 3.5, 4 years where it's just been constant negativity, and even the start of this season. I just want to praise the role Danny Rowe has done. There was a lot of calls after the Hibs game calling him a yes man, starting to give us some criticism, but I think he's answered that really well with the Kilmarnock result. I think we're in good hands, and even if this isn't our year, I think that we're in a good place. We've got the right people above the manager. We've got the right manager. We're seeing improvement in the squad window on window now. And like Jockey's just said, Celtic have got a lot of fixtures to play. I believe they're playing Stuttgart away, coming to Ibrox, and then going to Aberdeen midweek, all in the space of 7-8 days. That's something we've struggled with over the last few years. That has been our kryptonite when we have had Celtic close. You think of the Seville year, you think of Clermont's first year. We're playing in Europe up until a later stage of the season, and it's costing us. Even under Gerrard, before they won the league, Celtic are out of Europe a couple of times in August, but majority of the time around Christmas time, whereas we're in it until March, April, and that's cost us. You've just seen the fatigue in the team. Well, this year it's a complete 180, and they're going to need to deal with that. The only other thing is Hearts don't look like they're falling away. The bubble doesn't look like it's bursting, despite the defeat. But they've not played many games, even compared to us. I think they've played maybe 15 fewer games this season, going out of both cups early. So yeah, it's going to be difficult, but I think we have the advantage over Celtic definitely in the fact that they're going to have these big games all close to each other. And like I said, the fans are all moaning about it online, but it's something we've had to deal with year on year. I think it was something crazy before Manchester, like 4 games in 8-9 days. Well, we had to put up with it, and now you do. So tough.
Yeah, certainly, swings and roundabouts, Jack. I do think that, we're fortunate in a way, that we did have such a poor start to the European campaign that we don't have to worry about those extra fixtures in the title run in. Yes, I think, as Jockey and you have both said, I think that the backlog of fixtures, and it sounds it sounds worse than it is, but it's just an extra game that they need to play on a week that they didn't think they would need to play it. So, they should be certainly, able to get through the 3 games. Do you know what I mean? It's just tough for them. It's just coming in a particularly tough week. As you say, away to Germany, away to us, and then away to Pataudry, and hopefully by that time that the pitch is dried out a wee bit. So, yeah, regardless, we've had to go through that on more than one occasion, as you've touched on, and we now need to see if they can handle the same pressure that we'd been under previously. All right. Well, with that being said, we'll bring things to a close. I wasn't sure we were going to get through to 50 minutes, but we're almost there, Jack. So we'll wrap things up before we're into injury time. Thanks again for coming on today. I know you've not been in the best health this week, so thank you. And your voice is held out, so hopefully um, you continue to improve, and hopefully back on next week as well. Um, as I said, one last thing, again, we're proudly sponsored by the Bluebells Bar. If you're in Lanzarote, please head out and see them. They've got a great vibe, and they help sponsor the show. So make sure you check them out if you're in Lanzarote. Again, we've got the merch QR code in the corner. If you like to contribute to the channel and the guys and the girls at the Rangers Journal, please check that out and maybe buy yourself a couple of bits and pieces from there. I was going to say we're a wee bit early for Valentine's Day, but if you're watching and the man in your life's a Rangers fan, there's certainly no better place to go than that Etsy shop to pick him up a couple of items for his Valentine's Day. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. But with that being said, Jack, once again, thanks very much for joining us today. I've been Bob. Every night's Rangers Journal night, and we'll see you over the weekend. Thanks, folks. Bye.